The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Thursday night is Speedway night here on SimSpeed TV, and once again, it's time for your weekly dose of mud-flinging fun. It's round 7 of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series. This is the Motum Simulation 360 Sprint Car Showdown at the dirt track at Charlotte. We've had a rollicking season so far. We've had some surprise winners. We've got a close championship battle as well. We can't wait to see how things turn out tonight around this flat-out little bull ring. My name is Reese Gardner for SimSpeed TV. Joining me in the commentary box is Cameron Dance once again. G'day, Cam. It's time for some daytime racing at the dirt track at Charlotte. Absolutely cannot wait. This is an interesting circuit.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a little large difference compared to what we were at with Kokomo last week. So, yeah, big change in terms of the track with much more banking, a lot wider, a lot more high speed. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens here tonight and who's going to come out on top. Points are looking very, very close. So, would not be surprised if we possibly see another change in the championship or whether we maybe see a new winner.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of championship standings, we're going to go straight into that. My goodness, how good has Joel Berkeley's form been over the last few rounds? He's taken 2 A-main wins at rounds 4 and 5, and he's elevated himself to second in the championship, only 11 points behind Tim Ryan. So that top 2 battle is certainly one to watch. The likes of Harry Stewart far back there in third. You know, it's looking more and more like it's going to be a 2-horse race between Ryan and Berkeley at the moment.
Yeah, it certainly is based on the points at the moment, but we've seen some very interesting and very different stuff happen over the course of the season so far. Being halfway now, it's really starting to get down to the knuckle
Yeah, it's
points. So
certainly. Sorry about that, Cam. Brief technical glitches there, but man, we're waiting at the moment for the heats to begin as the drivers file into the server. But this track, the dirt track at Charlotte, you did say, Cam, it is very wide, it is very high banked. In one of these 360 sprint cars, you can pretty much go the whole way around flat out. It's one of those circuits where it's completely balls to the wall.
yeah, it certainly is very, very wide open. So you're gonna be flat out pretty much the entire time, and possibly when it is going to slick up a little bit, you're going to find drivers are lifting a little bit and using various different lines, whether that's going to be right up against the wall or whether they're going to be trying a slightly different slider line or running down on the bottom. It's really going to be quite fascinating to see what happens. Usually the track does tend to favor the outside against the wall, but at the same time, there's been cases before where people have managed to use various other lines to make it work. So really looking forward to and seeing who ends up coming out on top.
Exactly. Well, we're following the regular format that we have established over the course of this season. A 4 minute qualifying session. Every driver gets 2 laps each to set their time and see how they line up for the heats. In every heat, the top three is going to be inverted for this round. And after we go through all the heats, after we go through the alphabet, we have got quite the interesting shootout to contend with. Those are the track conditions at the moment, 31-degree track. So not that hot in terms of temperature, but I'll tell you what, when you've got 20 or so 360 sprint cars pounding around this place, it's going to slick up, it's going to heat up. So the drivers are going to have to be dealing with some very leery cars at the end of this one. For the shootout, we're going for a World Series Sprint Cars style shootout session with bronze, silver, and gold shootouts. And we'll explain that in detail when we get further into the event. But if you've watched a World Series Sprint Cars event in real life, you will know exactly how it's going to work. We get a very nice view of the dirt track at Charlotte here, just on the same property as Charlotte Motor Speedway, very historic high-banked NASCAR oval, and this circuit caters to the mud flinging fans and the mud flinging drivers, with obviously a wall running the whole way around that can hitch up your rear tires. I wonder how many drivers we're going to see find that wall tonight.
Yeah, it'll be quite. It's quite the wall to clip, and it doesn't usually end well either. It's quite the impact and catches you by surprise, but very easy to do. So, yeah, it's gonna probably claim a few victims. Hopefully, it doesn't claim too many, but we'll definitely. As you can see, just actually outside of Turn 1 is actually the pavement oval of Charlotte Motor Speedway. So it's literally just a little bit of a walk across from the actual dirt track. So yeah, a bit of real estate going on, but yeah, really, really good little facility.
Certainly is. Great place to be, Charlotte Motor Speedway, one of the homes of stock car racing in North America. It's in North Carolina, and it is one of the highlight events of the NASCAR calendar when they go there every year. Certainly, it's one of the highlights of speedway calendars in the United States when drivers come here many times over the course of a season. So, we're past the halfway point now in the season, Cam, and when we took a look at those championship standings before, that 11-point gap between Tim Ryan and Joel Berkeley can go either way now coming out of this round. We've also got to consider the fact that every driver has 2 drop rounds in the midst of all of this. So it's definitely going to be an interesting fight coming towards the end of the season as we now have cars out on track in the warm-up session before qualifying.
Certainly, this is going to give everyone a chance to sort of feel what the track's doing. Obviously, it's been sitting there baking in the sun for a little bit, so the track's going to have lost a little bit of moisture, but not too much. And as the drivers put more and more laps down, the track is going to indeed dry up, and more of a racing line is going to end up forming. So it'll be quite fascinating to see what happens and what the line is for qualifying. Everybody using a slightly different line to what you normally find majority of the time. Some are running low, some are running high, some are running mid, and some are running a more slider line. So it's a various mix of different lines and people trying to make the track work in their favor more or less. But yeah, it's going to be quite fascinating to see what happens with those points. Like you said, obviously very, very close at the top, and 2 drop rounds coming into play as well. So everything's to play for here.
Yep, absolutely everything. And you get a really good sense of just how fast this circuit is as we see Vince Romeo running into a couple of issues there. We got a car at a standstill on track. Of course, this is only the warm-up session before qualifying, so drivers don't have to worry about that affecting their night all that much. But you already see the groove forming, and drivers largely going for that low to mid line in the turns. But especially in 1 and 2, you're seeing a few drivers go for that outside line.
Certainly, there's a lot of loose dirt up on the higher side of the racetrack at the moment, just from everybody running so low, and you can already see in the groove through turns one and also into turn three, where everybody's just been throwing it in and slicking that entry up into the corners. So it's going to make things really, really difficult if you're going to try and pull a slide line, but it's also going to make it possibly a little bit difficult come at the heats when you're more or less going to have drivers sort of trying to keep within that loose dirt area, but stay out of the slick as well.
Exactly right. Let's checkered flag then for this initial practice session, and we're going to move into qualifying. And I've always loved watching qualifying at speedway events because you really get a sense for how hard the drivers push around a track like this. If previous rounds are any indication, we should see Tim Ryan be one of the last drivers out to set a time. But we do have drivers already out on track and looking to stake their claim for pole position in their heats. And we take a look at that high line being used quite aggressively by the car currently on screen, but dipping lower in turns 1 and 2. We're looking at Harry Stewart at the moment, who is currently sitting third in the championship standings. He's gotten some very consistent points all through the rounds, and that has elevated him to that position. He's not taken a feature win just yet this season, but still managing to stay in third. He's having a nice consistent run, and he goes fastest at the moment on a 13.454. Bradley Oldfield currently sits in second place. Jacob Dixon in third. And just seeing that Bradley Oldfield has gone slightly faster, he's now on a 13.421. He assumes P1.
Yeah, so Oldfield putting his foot down and trying to show that he's got some decent pace. Has showed actually quite the nice amount of pace over the last few rounds, but it's just had a bit of bad luck, unfortunately. So he'll be hoping for a little bit of redemption and try and show that he's actually got a bit of luck on his side tonight. But regardless, very solid driver as we've seen over the course of the season. So we'll see what happens tonight. But nevertheless, so far the standings are looking pretty close at the moment, and just seen the car of Brad O'Brien go straight to the top.
Oh, yes, Brad O'Brien, the first 13.3 that we've seen tonight, a 3.84. And David Heilemann is one to watch as well. He won the A main last time out at Kokomo Speedway. He's just gone to P2.
Yeah, good lap there by David to put it on P2 at the moment. Very, very close finish across the line in that feature at Kokomo last week. So we'll be hoping to do just as good. Joel Berkeley goes third. So it's a Slick Sim Sports 2 and 3 at the moment. Just seen Brendan Hobson go to P number 5 as well. So everybody's starting to put some nice clean laps in, but a couple of drivers yet to set laps as well. Jock Goodyear, Tim Ryan, Lewis Hewitt has just set his lap and has gone to P at number 6 as well. So we'll see whether he can indeed put that Slick Sim Sports up into the top position or not. He's going to come across the line. No, it's not. It's actually on par with Tom Callahan. It's just gone slightly quicker.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same time for Callahan and Hewitt showing up on the timesheets. So Hewitt having to start from less of a position than he'd probably be wanting. We have to remember in this last minute of the session, this is when Tim Ryan usually comes out, and he is indeed on track at the moment. He's going to be coming around to set his first lap time. And Ryan has been one of the consistent fastest runners, not had the best of luck in the last two events, which has allowed Joel Berkeley to close up on him in the driver's standings. But we'll see what lap times he sets in the midst of all of this. First lap across the line, a 13.704. Not quite good enough. He'll have to go a bit faster than that. He has 4/10 to make up if he wants to gain that pole position. Round he comes again and sets a 13.334. Puts himself in position 1. Tim Ryan, right at the last hurdle, once again, smashes his way into pole.
Yeah, very, very reasonable lap there by Tim to end up putting it straight to the top of the timesheets by actually a pretty solid margin as well over Brad O'Brien and the rest of the field. But that's sort of going to become undone as there was supposed to be an invert of the top three, but appeared to have been happened. So Heat 1 grid will be Tim Ryan and Bradley Oldfield on the front row, Harry Stewart and Hayden Pascoe on row 2, Aston Hurley and Aaron Kelly on row 3. Row 4, Clayton Davies and Thomas Mitchell, Cruz McVie and Luke Sampson rounding out the top 10 in the field, rounded out by Sean O'Hara and Zach Howell.
12 cars max in these heats tonight, and we're about to get the first of them underway. They will line up behind the pace truck and go in the start zone that was agreed by race control and all the drivers before the start of this event. But of course, before we do that, we need 2 pace laps under our belt. And this is going to give the drivers a bit more of a sense of what the track is doing after qualifying, how it's evolved, because over those last 4 minutes, the track would have changed quite a bit. Tim Ryan would have been driving on a markedly different track to those who set their laps at the start of the session.
Yeah, certainly. There would have been quite a little bit difference between what it was at the start of the session, at the end of practice and the end of qualifying here. So, going to be quite fascinating to see who ends up where in this heat. And looking at the line, it's going to make entry to turn 1 and turn 3 quite tricky based on how slick it is. But nevertheless, the drivers shouldn't have too many issues with how the track has evolved so far. And it looks like it could be actually quite a racy track.
Yeah, actually, it does look like it, eh? This track, incredibly wide, with a very noticeable groove forming as the drivers pull away from their standing positions on the grid, and they will be practicing their throttle application, practicing their nerve, testing their metal, so that they can go the moment that Tim Ryan decides to put the power down. And the start is going to be very crucial in something like this. The track may be one of the widest we go to over the course of the season, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to pass.
Yes, certainly. It doesn't exactly mean it's easy to pass. So, really going to test drivers' skills and racecraft here to sort of try and work around the current form of the racetrack, and really going to be all about just maintaining momentum as well. We're probably going to see some drivers try a slider on a few different drivers in various places, but nevertheless, going to put on some fantastic racing.
Absolutely is. Coming through 1 and 2 for the final time before we get going. The pace truck pulls in to the infield, and now Tim Ryan is going to assume control of the field from his starting position on the inside. And they will wait and wait and wait until the call for the green flag. And we are away. Green flag flies, and it's a consistent start from the front row by Oldfield and Ryan. But you already see, trying to make his case, Harry Stewart. But he's fallen back now, coming into turns 3 and 4. A huge jostling behind them. Cars almost going 4 wide through the corners. And you see that our top 3 are all using the same line. Have a look at Tim Ryan. Have briefly lost the lead there to Bradley Oldfield, trying a slide job on him, but they go side by side as they begin lap 3. These heats are only 8 laps, so not much time for these drivers to deal with. But looks like Oldfield and Ryan are having a rollicking old time, trading places up the front.
Certainly, it's a great battle going on for the lead between Tim Ryan and Bradley Oldfield at the moment. Oldfield just having to sit station at the moment a little bit as Tim Ryan tries a slider line through 3 and 4, going to lose some momentum, and now Oldfield's going to not quite look for the position now because he's got to know that he's got to try and build momentum for the time being. Harry Stewart having a little slight hiccup there in turns 1 and 2, but the battle at the front really heating up between these two. Absolutely nothing in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a look at how close Tim Ryan runs to the wall on the entry into 1 and 2. He's gaining a tiny bit on Oldfield here, but still only got 2 laps to go now as they cross the line. And it looks like Ryan and Oldfield have absolutely broken away. Stewart, meanwhile, might be in trouble for his 3rd place. Remember, the top 3 instantly get a ticket through to the feature. And if Stewart loses this position to Hayden Pascoe on the last lap, he's going to have to fight through the alphabet. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. It looks like the gap is big enough. And up the front, Tim Ryan is going to come through and take victory in the first heat of the night. Bradley Oldfield in 2nd, and Harry Stewart gets through to the feature with them.
Yeah, very, very solid result there for Tim Ryan to just hold on to the lead of that heat and managed to take the win as well. But nevertheless, Heat 2 is indeed up and ready. Brad O'Brien and Tom Callahan on the front row. Ryan Harris and Zach Fallon row 2. Row 3, Jordan Charge and John Schultz. Row 4, Ethan Bastion and Travis Castagna. Row 5, Dale Jordison and Jock Goodyear. Jock a little bit further down than he'd probably like, so we'll have a bit of work cut up from there. But Dylan Zabono and Lockie Beatty will round out the field.
Yeah, I am interested to see what Goodyear can do from here, but we've also got to consider Ethan Bastion, John Schultz, Zach Fellon, Ryan Harris as well. They all have some good form under their belt concerning their results in previous rounds of this season. So there's a lot of drivers to keep an eye on here in this second heat of the night. They pull away, and now the calm before the storm once again. With Brad O'Brien starting on pole, it's going to be some big pressure on him to try and keep this, because with those drivers behind him, I'm sure if they all get through turn one in one piece, they'll all be raring to go for that top three.
Yeah, they certainly will. And there's a number of drivers who could easily get inside that top 3 from their starting positions. I saw it was a little bit difficult trying to pass in that first heat, so not going to be too much different in this heat, probably, but nevertheless, number of good drivers who could possibly get in there. So, going to be anyone's guess as to who's going to come away with those top 3.
Yes, indeed. Seeing a brief detour up to the wall there for Zachary Fellon, probably just seeking out, feeling out the tackiness of the track up there. Because, of course, a tacky track is a grippy track, a fast one. Pace car pulling in, and now looks like Brad O'Brien getting squeezed all the way down to the bottom as we prepare to go green in Heat 2, and away we go. Brad O'Brien getting a slightly worse start than Tom Callahan, but he holds the lead coming into turn 1. No, he does not. Loses momentum on the slick groove,
No,
and we
Jock
got a
Goodyear
crash.
over.
Oh, big crash there. Yes, Jock Goodyear involved, and he is on his side. And it looks like he is going to have to work his way up through the alphabet as a result of that. A big shame for Jock Goodyear, but the race continues up the front. It looks like Tom Callahan is absolutely running away with it, but second place is a great battle here between Zach Fellon and Brad O'Brien. O'Brien, having started on pole, he now finds himself in third, but putting a lot of pressure on Fellon.
Yeah, certainly is. Only 0.003 of a second last time by, and lap time difference between the two of them. But nevertheless, John Charge isn't actually too far behind this little pack for the final 2 transfer spots. And Ryan Harris having a look up the inside of the slide job, but not going to get it done.
Yeah, looks like that outside line is definitely the place to be at the moment. Oh, got another crash in the background, another car on its side. Dylan DeBono has managed to find contact with another car, so we're going to have to say goodbye to him for the time being. Meanwhile, looks like Callahan is holding it nice and consistent in the lead. Zach Fellon doesn't look like he's being that troubled by Brad O'Brien anymore, but have a look at Jordan Charge. He is absolutely charging, you could say. I won't make that pun again tonight, but looking backwards at Travis Castagna and John Schultz, these two guys are having a rollicking battle at the moment, and it looks like Castagna... Oh, whoa, hold up a minute. Where did that third car come from? That's interesting, but it's the final lap, and it looks like Tom Callahan is going to come through here to take victory, and Zach Fellon coming home in that in 10th, actually. I think he might have had a technical issue, so that promotes Brad O'Brien up to second place, and Jordan Charge joins them in the top 3.
Really unfortunate for Zach there. He would have been through and done, but really unfortunate. Jordan would have just missed out, but nevertheless, really, really good race there. So close in the end, but Heat 3 up and on the front row, it is a Slick Sim Sport front row of David Heileman and Lewis Hewitt. Row 2, Jacob Dixon and Devin Butts. Row 3, Daniel Gow and Callum Davison. Row 4, Matt Reed and Corey Steinhauser. Row 5, Giving it Sadler and Danny Vassell, and then rounding out the field, Carl Hoffmans and Hayden McCandy.
Yes, we have a look at the grid as it stands at the moment, and that front row of David Heileman and Lewis Hewitt is certainly going to be explosive. Both of those drivers incredibly quick, incredibly well established in the sim sprint car world. So I'm looking forward to an excellent top two battle in this race if they can get it going. But Gavin Sadler and Corey Steinhauser, starting back there in 8th and 9th, I would expect them to have a red hot go at advancing forward as well. We can't discount Devin Butts as well. He's had some poor luck over the course of this season, has Devin, but nonetheless, he has shown some flashes of brilliance and racing ability in this series. So, wishing the best of luck to him starting from 4th place. But now we focus, well, David Heilemann will be focusing on getting this start right, because if he's got this right, then he's going to get a nice ticket through into the feature.
Yeah, he certainly is, and it's gonna be all about getting through to that feature. It's pretty much who's gonna end up getting that final transfer spot, because Hugh and Heilemann are probably gonna run away with this very easily, but everybody else behind is gonna be charging for that third place, and it's anyone's guess as to who's gonna end up getting it. So, yeah, really gonna be very, very much quite the intense battle to get that position.
It absolutely will. In comes the pace truck. And finally, we get going for Heat 3 of round 7 of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series. That is a much better start off the green flag from Lewis Hewitt, instantly taking the lead, and Jacob Dixon slide jobbing his way into 3rd place, but he's had some big pressure put on him here by Devin Butts, who sends it right back up the inside. It looks like that top 2 breaking away.
Oh, maybe not. Almost.
Oh, goodness me. Absolutely not. It looks like Lewis Hewitt is safe for now, but Slide Job City here behind David Heilemann, and side by side between Jacob Dixon and Daniel Gow, they're almost going to go 3 wide into turn 1. This is a great battle here for 3rd place. Devin Butts currently holds on to it, but there goes Jacob Dixon, parks it right in front of Devin Butts, and manages to get himself up into that 3rd place. Now what he needs to do is consolidate.
Yeah, he certainly does. And he has to try and drive away from the angry pack behind him. But Daniel Gow, having a bit of contact with the car of Gavin Sadler, and Devin Butts not too far behind Jacob Dixon at the moment, who's really working that top line to try and hold on to this final transfer spot. No, not too many laps to go, but you can see everybody trying various different lines, and Gavin Sadler just gets past Daniel Gow.
Yeah, that was one heck of a slide job that Sadler had to deal with there, but it looks like he's managed to settle himself into 5th place, and Devin Butts is continuing to try and snatch this 3rd place from Jacob Dixon, trying slide job after slide job into the final turn. We'll have to wait and see how it works out for him. Penultimate lap is over, and it's on for the lead now. Lewis Hewitt going for the inside on the final lap versus David Heilemann. He parks it right in front of Heilemann and securing that 1st position and protecting the inside. There's nothing Heilemann can do from there. Lewis Hewitt will take victory by just a car length from David Heilemann in Heat 3. What a finish between those two, and Jacob Dixon getting that ticket into the A main.
Yeah, Dixon doing a fantastic job to just hold on to that final transfer spot. But you do have to wonder if possibly David did let his teammate Lewis have that one in the end. But nevertheless, great, fantastic racing all throughout the field.
Absolutely. We move on to Heat 4 right away. Joel Berkeley is on pole for this one. Brenton Hobson shares the front row with him. Trent Gosley starting from 3rd. That'll be interesting to behold. James Rice, Kieran Redpath, and Bradley Sanders completing the top 6. Caden Brown and Tyler Bish on row 4. Interesting matchup there. Vince Romeo, who we saw having some adventures in the warm-up beforehand, starts from 9th. Top 10 rounded out by Nathan Norman and Jay Howell and Hayden Veld rounding out your field. And Hayden Veld's another one of those drivers that I've kept an eye on throughout the course of this season. He has these flashes of excellent pace and excellent racecraft, but once again, luck just doesn't seem to go his way. He's been involved in many an incident over the last couple of rounds of this series, not entirely through any fault of his own. So starting from last place in this 4th heat, he's still got some work to do.
Yeah, he certainly does. He showed some very, very good pace over the past few rounds, but just unfortunately hasn't got the luck that he's needed in these last few rounds to get the result that he's needed. So we'll be interesting to see what happens to Hayden tonight. Obviously, new team as well, having left Illusion, but nevertheless, still plenty of pace in that car, and will really be keeping an eye on Hayden to see where he ends up tonight.
Yes, indeed. But he's got a wall of 360 sprint cars up ahead of him, which is certainly going to be a challenge. Joel Berkeley starting from pole in this heat. He's got form to spare in this series, winning rounds 4 and 5 in the A main. So that championship charge, he'll be looking to make sure that he stays within range of Tim Ryan. He'll know that Ryan won his heat and he will get the requisite points for that. So Berkeley has to match Ryan in the win in the heat in order to keep that championship lead just at 11 points.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, qualifying does include points, so we'll be in slight disadvantage. But green flag is in the air and a solid run into turn one for Joel Berkeley. They're fanning out 3 and 4 wide. Car hitting the tyres. I believe that was Jay Howell by the looks of it. But so far,
It
everybody's
was Caden Brown. It was Caden Brown, unfortunately, that hit the tyres on the inside, but it looks like our top three is continued to fight. It's really on for second. Joel Berkeley not facing much pressure, but Brenton Hobson chucking it right up the inside of Trent Gosley, and he fires it up once again. And he might be able to get it here if he can protect that line, but it looks like Gosley's going to get him right back here. And now looks like this is going to be the order of the day for second and third. This is really helping out James Rice.
certainly is helping out Rice. He is right there now in contention for that final transfer spot. Gosley tries another slide job, but can't get the position off Hobson, who's moved back into second place. And not too far behind, there's also Caden Brown, who's starting to come into this little battle as well. So there's about 4 cars who could easily come away with the final transfer spot. Brown trying another slide job on it, James Rice, but can't get the move done. He's persisting with the slide jobs as well, but just not able to pull it off as Rice manages to just hold it around the outside.
Goodness me, Caden Brown being very aggressive on the slide jobs here, and it looks like Vince Romeo is trying to follow him through as well. Oh no! Goodness me, that is a huge smash there for James Rice. He goes all the way back to the rear of the grid. And his transfer spot is completely up for the taking now. Joel Berkeley has just started his last lap. He has a huge lead at the moment, unassailable. Brenton Hobson and Trent Gosley continuing to fight for second place here. They look like they might be safe from Caden Brown, but it's going to be Joel Berkeley taking victory in this heat. And Brenton Hobson in second. Trent Gosley manages to hold off Caden Brown for that third place.
Yeah, so fantastic job there by the 2 transfers for just outside, well, just behind Joel Berkeley. So Hobson and Gosley doing a fantastic job to hold on from Brown, but really unfortunate there for the car of James Rice, who ended up making a bit of contact and then ending up clipping that outside wall. And Hayden Valdos are getting involved in that, so really unfortunate for him. But that is the heat's done and dusted by the looks of it.
Yes, only 4 heats tonight, and we move straight through to the D main. Zach Fellon and Danny Vassell are going to line up on the first row. Bradley Sanders and Sean O'Hara in row 2. Dylan DeBono and Hayden McCandy 5th and 6th. Jay Howell and Zach Howell, the 2 Howells sharing the 4th row. Goodyear starting from position 9. He'll be looking to make good on what was a horrific heat for him. And Callum Davidson rounding out the top 10. 11 cars in this one, completed by Tyler Bish. So the top 2 from this one are going to go through into the C main. As we go through the alphabet, this is how Dirt Speedway generally works. You go up through the alphabet, and you have to finish up the front of the field if you want to advance. So the drivers who win this D main could be in for an incredibly long night.
Yeah, they certainly can, but they do also have the advantage of knowing how the track's formed and where the best line to run is, also due to having run the previous race. So really is a little bit of a disadvantage having a bit of a longer night, but it is an advantage to know how the track's formed and where everybody seems to be running. So we'll see what happens and who comes away with this. Obviously, Jock Good, you're going to be one to watch, starting all the way down in P9. Gonna have to work his way up the field to get inside that top two, but going to be really, really tight between those top four to see who comes away with that final transfer spot.
Yes, indeed. But we're going to have to wait for another 10 laps of racing before we figure that one out. And what a 10 laps it's going to be. In goes the pace truck off the circuit. And now the field is under the control of Zachary Fallon. The eye of the storm before we get into the roaring winds once again. Green flag flies in the D main, and it's a poor start from Felon. Danny Vassal leads off the line, but it looks like Felon's going to try and get him back here. Slide job? No. Failed slide job. He has to settle for second, and there's contact, big contact. Felon on the grass. That's backed up everyone. And now it looks like Dylan DeBono is going to find himself in second place here. A car off in the background. Bradley Sanders having to get to the back of the grid there. Zach Felon, though, wasting no time trying to get past Sean O'Hara. A little bit of a bump into the wall. He's got nowhere to go. Neither is Goodyear. Goodyear has been involved in the incident. He is on his roof once again. Jock Goodyear's night going from bad to worse. But Danny Vassal and Dylan DeBono up the front. It looks like Dylan is managing to slide job his way into contention for the win here.
Bonus done a very, very good job to keep it out of the wars and managed to just hold on at the moment. Andy McKendy having problems further back, but Zach Fallon has gone from nearly having his race over to ending up back in third place and charging hard, 14.5 last time by, so matching the pace of Danny Vassal, but this is going to be very, very close and not too many laps to go, so he's going to have to work for it pretty hard, but nevertheless going to be a very, very close battle.
Absolutely is. And Vassal briefly made a mistake in 3 and 4. He's going to have to be careful here because Dylan DeBono throwing it up the inside as Felon continues to advance. DeBono's slide job fails once again, but he's got a few more chances. Battle for fourth, on the other hand, third and fourth, Zach Felon and Tyler Bish. Well, Tyler started all the way back in 11th place and has found himself in fourth, but got to remember, these guys are not going to be able to advance if they finish where they are. It looks like the top four have come together now up the front of this field, a four-way battle for the lead as they come around to start the penultimate lap.
Certainly is. It's a very tight battle at the moment between the top four, and now slide job from Dylan DeBono to try and hold off the position from Zach Fallon, but he's going to look up the inside as Fallon into turn 3 to make a slide job, moves into that final transfer spot, but the car of DeBono trying everything he possibly can to get this position back. They're on the last lap now, so going to be all or nothing for Dylan DeBono. Is he going to throw a slide job? Looks to the inside, but Zach Fallon goes slightly defensive and will just hold on to that final transfer spot.
Giving a wall a tap too, but Danny Vassal takes victory in the D main, so himself and Felon are going to move through into the B main. Tyler Bish, Dylan DeBono, Hayden McCandy, Bradley Sanders, and everyone else that you see on screen there. Unfortunately, we will have to say goodbye to them for now. But we move forward then into the C main. Last couple more letters to go in the alphabet before we can get racing in that feature. Matt Reed and Kieran Redpath are going to share the first row here. Thomas Mitchell and Lockie Beattie in row 2. Carl Hoffmans and James Rice, and interested to see what Rice can do, as well as Cruz McVie and John Schultz, who start from row 4. Corey Steinhauser for Speedway Memes Motorsports, starting from 9th place. Hayden Veld rounding out the top 10. And we are joined by Aaron Kelly in 11th, and the top 2 from the D main, Vassal and Felon. So Vassal and Felon, they've really got their work cut out for them here, starting at the back. That's your reward for winning the previous main. You start at the back of the next one.
Yeah, it certainly does make it slightly more difficult to have to start all the way down the order. But obviously, if you've won the previous main, it usually means that you've got quite some good pace, so you're able to probably dice your way through the current field that you've just been put in. But there's still a reasonable field in this one, so it does make it slightly harder for them. But nevertheless, plenty of good drivers in here could come away with a good result.
Exactly right. So Matt Reed has got all the pressure on him here at the front. And we've noticed in the last couple of heats and in the D main, the inside line on the start was actually at a bit of a disadvantage. So that groove that's forming really starting to favor cars that are starting on the outside. In comes the pace truck. Down come the cars onto the bottom of 3 and 4, not going all the way down to the bottom, but straight lining the run out of the last corner to get it going here. Green flag flies and we are away, and it looks like there was a bit of an accordion effect there at the start. 3 wide, 4 wide, and there's a big crash there involved in that. Carl Hoffman's having to find his way to the back of the grid, but it's on at the moment for every position just about. Matt Reed seems kind of comfortable there in first place, but oh my goodness, another big crash, and that's 4 cars involved in that one. John Schultz and Hayden Veld have found themselves on their side. So their night continues to go from bad to worse. Big shame for them, but up the front, Matt Reed, it looks like he is holding station very nicely from Thomas Mitchell.
Certainly is at the moment, doing a fantastic job as Matt Reed out the front, but Zach Fallon already up into P4, managing to avoid all the carnage, and Danny Vassell up into P5, challenging for P6 at the moment with Kyron Redpath, who's made a slide job but hasn't managed to get the run off the corner. So Danny Vassell just hold on to the position. We have to possibly defend from Aaron Kelly, who is missing a front wing, so going to be slightly less than optimal front grip. But back to that, nearly that final transfer spot, P3 for between Fallon and Rice, are really duking it out.
They absolutely are, and it looks like Rice starting to hold that inside line, seeing how it's going to work. He doesn't want to use too much of that groove, and it looks like he's actually losing some pace there and bringing Vassell back into contention. But we got to remember, these guys are outside the top 2. Matt Reed and Thomas Mitchell currently occupy your 2 transfer spots. So a 12-lap race, this C main. They haven't got much time left to get up into those transfer spots, but it does look like they're starting to advance. Slide job from Danny Vassell. Zachary Fellon is prepared for that and just goes straight back by. These guys don't want to get in each other's way too much. They want to advance and try and take those transfer spots from Reed and Mitchell.
Yeah, they certainly do. They want to be working together rather than fighting with each other. I did see Mitchell actually clip the wall down the back straight like 2 laps ago, so possible damage, but a big slide job from Danny Vassell up the inside in turn 3, but Fallon's going to come back at him. Contact between the 2, and they're in the fence.
Oh, this is not how either of them want their C main to go. They have lost touch now with Mitchell and Reed, who have really come together here. And Zach Fellon trying his best to keep that pace up. But it looks like Vassell just wants to fight with him here. Slide job after slide job after slide job between these guys. It's the penultimate lap. They're coming around to get the white flag up the front. And at the moment, it looks like Matt Reed and Thomas Mitchell are going to be the ones advancing through into the B main. Another big slide job from Vassell right behind. But these guys, bumper to bumper. A big slide job from Thomas Mitchell. Slides right by at the final corner and manages to take victory in the C main. Matt Reed going to have to settle for second out of that. But what a finish that was right at the final hurdle. But unfortunately, it looks like the night's over for Danny Vassell and Zachary Fellon. They could only manage 3rd and 4th out of that. James Rice and Kieran Redpath rounding out the top 6.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Fallon and Vassell there. And they came across the line actually together separated by only 6,000ths of a second. So very close at the line there between those 2. But B main very staked in a number of drivers who could possibly come away with a good result here.
Yes, indeed. It's Hayden Pascoe and Ryan Harris on the first row. The likes of Devin Butts and Caden Brown in 3rd and 4th. Gavin Sadler's making another appearance here in 7th place. We've got to remember that all of these drivers have one last chance, one last gasp to try and get themselves through into the feature. It's 14 laps, and the top 8 are going to go through into the feature to make up those final few spots. Mitchell and Reed have the honour of starting 15th and 16th at the end of all of this, but I'm interested to see how Aston Hurley and Travis Castagna go there from row 7.
Yes, certainly starting further back than they normally would do, but got a lot of cars to pass. Show potential as well, so we'll have to see where they end up, as well as Matt Reed starting off the back and Thomas Mitchell. The C main winners will have the work cut out for them, but number of drivers in that top eight who very easily could come away with a transfer.
They absolutely could. Remember, there's much more of a chance for a driver to make it through into the A main from this event. So I wouldn't expect them to race as hard for the top positions. We'll have to focus on position 8 as the laps continue to tick away. Final pace lap has begun for everyone, and now Hayden Pascoe will be preparing to put the power down. Now, what is the outside line going to be like on the start this time? We've seen that they've had somewhat of an advantage, but got to think reaction time is a factor as well. Pace truck has left the field, and now we wait for the green flag to fly. Starting to get a very slick track here at Charlotte, and it's a nice consistent start up the front, but goodness me, bit of contact for third place. Ryan Harris getting knocked back, and a big jostling of cars behind them. Luke Sampson is holding that second place, but Caden Brown right in the middle of all of this. Have a look at Sadler on the inside, getting ahead of all of these guys. Devin Butts as well. Oh no, Butts and Sadler make contact, and that is a huge, huge incident. Luke Sampson involved in that as well. He and Devin Butts going all the way to the back of the grid. That's a big shame for them, but have a look at the top battle here. The field is together.
Yeah, everybody's very, very compressed. They were 4 wide the lap before and just before that incident occurred. But Ryan Harris doing a fantastic job running that high line, driving around the outside of everyone. Everybody's trying to make that low line work, but it just doesn't quite seem to be there just yet. And you can just see everybody's trying to go for a bit of racetrack, and Ryan Harris is driving around the outside of everyone.
Yeah, it certainly is. That is a great run from Ryan, but oh my goodness. Have a look at Caden Brown slowing himself up there on the high line, still being led by Clayton Davies as we see a whole host of drivers going all the way to that inside line. We'll have to wait and see how the two lines work out over the course of this one, but it looks like Davies seems reasonably comfortable here in the lead, holding it off. Caden Brown, unfortunately, a bit more of a slide. That has given the advantage, ever so briefly, to Clayton Davies. But currently, the fight for 8th is Gavin Sadler, currently occupying that last transfer spot, and he'll be facing some pressure from Vince Romeo.
Yeah, he certainly will. Vince will be trying everything he possibly can, missing a front wing, so not going to make the car handle just as good as it possibly could. But really, really all going on for that final top 5 spot between Ryan Harris and Hayden Pascoe as they go side by side through turns 3 and 4. But Ryan Harris going to keep using that high line, trying to make it work, and is just trying to make it work and back cheek up at the lead. And Clayton Davis is going to drop to just outside the top 8, and even Gavin Sadler's going to drop back. So that's an incident there, and he's going to lose a transfer.
It absolutely is. Those tires down on the inside can really bite you. But now the lead is held by Dale Jordison on the inside. Ryan Harris holding that outside line. Can he make it work in these final few laps? You see the power that he puts down and the run that he gets onto the start-finish stretches. It looks like Jordison is just losing too much momentum there on the inside. Ryan Harris takes the lead, and it looks like from now on, he's going to keep it. 3 laps to go.
Yeah, Ryan Harris doing a fantastic job to make that outside line work and running right up against the outside wall. But that final transfer spot really getting heated up now between Nathan Norman and Vince Romeo. Not too many laps to go, and currently in favor of Norman, who seems to just be holding on enough for the time being.
Yeah, as they start the penultimate lap there, it looks like Romeo trying his best to keep that car powered into the turns, but we'll have to wait and see how that works out for him. Ryan Harris, meanwhile, in the lead, looking very safe, and Caden Brown holding third, Jordison in third, sorry. Ethan Bastian, though, creeping up on them to take the final spot on the podium as they come around lap 14. And that is Ryan Harris taking victory in the B main. An excellent run from him after what seemed like his race would be over. And that final transfer spot ends up going to Nathan Norman in the end. Well, there we go. That is the heats and the majority of the alphabet run. And have a look at how slick that track is getting, especially up on the high line. Now we move the World Series Sprint Cars style shootout. And this is going to be quite the interesting format. If you've watched World Series Sprint Cars before, you'll know how it works, but a very quick explainer. We have a bronze, silver, and gold session. Bronze is all of the P2 finishers in the heats. All of these guys are going to come out on track at the same time. They got 3 laps, 1 warm-up, and 2 timed laps to set the best time possible. The top 2 of those times set will go to the next round, the silver round, where they will be joined by the winners of heats 3, 4, and 5. We go again, a warm-up lap and 2 timed laps. The top 2 advance, and then we have the gold session where the winners of heats 1 and 2 duke it out. But here we go. We are waiting and seeing what kind of lap times these guys are going to set. All the P2 finishers in the heats: Brad O'Brien, David Heilemann, Brenton Hobson, Bradley Oldfield.
Yeah, currently Oldfield leading the way in this shootout at the moment. Hobson not too far behind. Brad O'Brien and David Heilemann have gone straight to the top as well with a 15-1, 2/10 clear of it, Brad O'Brien. So we'll see what happens here. Oldfield goes to P3. So currently the top 2 occupied by Heilemann and O'Brien. But currently it's so close between O'Brien and Oldfield.
Yeah, it certainly is. They're going to have to wait and see. Brenton Hobson gets his way up to 3rd. Bradley Oldfield, though, to 2nd place. A 15.153 for him as the drivers finish their laps. So we say goodbye then to Brad O'Brien and Brenton Hobson, who just manages to snatch a 3rd place in the times. But David Heilemann and Bradley Oldfield are going to stay out on track, where they will be joined by the winners of heats 3, 4, heats 3 and 4 rather. So a couple of drivers then going to stop. Hobson and O'Brien will go back to the pits as a result of this. And then we move forward to the silver section of the shootout. This is where things start getting real.
Yeah, they certainly do. And one other thing we do need to point out is the bronze drivers' times from their bronze session don't actually count towards silver. So they've got to do it all again to try and set down a fast lap, which is going to make it a little bit confusing in some ways, but a little bit of a challenge for the drivers. But nevertheless, really looking forward to seeing who comes out on top here.
Certainly. Heilemann and Oldfield are joined by Joel Berkeley and Lewis Hewitt, winners of heats 3 and 4. And we'll start to see some representative lap times come in from these guys now. Heilemann running that low line, and it looks like the high line isn't always the way to go at the moment. We're seeing the way the track evolves. Lewis Hewitt going to the top, a 15.118, 15.213 from Oldfield. It looks like, oh my goodness, Oldfield then going to the top. Once again, David Heilemann responds right away with a 15.156. Currently, Hewitt occupying 2nd place. Berkeley and Oldfield, it looks like we may just say goodbye to them after this one. Heilemann manages to snatch P1 at the very end, but he and Lewis Hewitt are going to advance. So Bradley Oldfield and Joel Berkeley are out.
Yeah, look how close it is. It's only 1,000th of a second between Heilemann and Hewitt as well. So very, very close at the top. But it's going to be all down to this final shootout. Tim Ryan is up next, I believe, and really going to be quite the spectacle here.
Yeah, absolutely is. We know that Tim Ryan can set a lap time for sure in any track session. He's joined by Tom Callahan, who took the win in Heat 2. Of course, both Tom Callahan and Tim Ryan racing sprint cars here in Australia. They will have had a lot of real-life experience backing themselves up, as do many, many drivers in this field. But we are away now. The warm-up lap is beginning. And Tom Callahan, it looks like, having a little bit of trouble keeping his car out of the wall in turns 1 and 2, going for that very high line, as is Tim Ryan, Lewis Hewitt, and David Heilemann. All of these drivers running the high line, they reckon it's the fastest.
Yeah, it seems to be the preferred line at the moment. And it's all about how close you can put your right rear towards that concrete wall without putting yourself in the concrete wall entirely. So we're really interested to see who comes away with what here. 15-4-2-1 from the car of uh, Tom Callahan there, as I memory blank, 15-2-3-3 from it, Tim Ryan, and unbelievable times coming in.
Yeah, goodness me. Ryan, Hewitt, and Heilemann both setting some excellent times there. And Tim Ryan goes right back there to P1. So it looks like he might have secured pole for this one. Lewis Hewitt manages to get second place out of that. Heilemann and Callahan, though, we unfortunately do not see the same pace from them. So it looks to us then like Tim Ryan is going to start on pole position for the Motum Simulation 360 Sprint Car Showdown. And we'll be getting ready for 35 green flag laps of A main racing. We're going to go on a very quick break here at SimSpeed TV, but don't go away. A main coming up next. You're watching the Motum Simulation 360 Sprint Car Showdown, round 7 of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
You're watching the Motum Simulation 360 Sprint Car Showdown, round 7 of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series. We're moving on to the feature here, 35 green flag laps around the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway. If you're just joining us, my name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box is Cameron Dance. And Cam, we've seen quite the event so far. Lots of fast and hard racing, many incidents through the heats and through the alphabet. But now it all comes down to this, a very worn down dirt track at Charlotte. What kind of dichotomy are we going to see between the high and low lines? It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it certainly is. The track is very, very dry and quite slick at the moment, so it's going to make racing quite the challenge for these drivers. But nevertheless, the the constellation races and heats have put on some fantastic racing, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. That high line we saw in that shootout did seem to be the favourable line, but that bottom does seem to be quite fresh, so be possible that it might just come into its own later on.
Yeah, that is entirely possible. Tim Ryan is starting on pole for this one. He's joined on the front row by Tom Callahan. Lewis Hewitt starting in position 3. Joel Berkeley shares the second row with him. Bradley Oldfield and Brad O'Brien starting in 5th and 6th. David Heileman and Brenton Hobson start from 7th and 8th. Harry Stewart and Jordan Charge rounding out the top 10.
Just outside the top 10 will be Jacob Dixon on 11th and Trent Gozzi in 12th. Ryan Harris followed by Caden Brown. Dale Jewison rounding up the top 15. Heath Bastian, Clayton Davies, Ashton Hurley, Hayden Pascoe, and rounding out the field, Nathan Norman.
Yeah, so 20 cars here in this run here through to the A main. Tim Ryan is going to have maximum pressure on himself as the field forms up to reflect the order in the as decided by the shootout. So Ryan's going to choose to start on the outside here for his pole position run, and Lewis Hewitt is going to assume second place here on the inside, but we're going to wait and see how this goes. The driver's going to have one more lap here behind no pace truck, just controlling their pace as we count green flag laps, manually in this series. So race control are going to have their hands full, keeping track of the laps and also keeping track of incidents out on track. Fortunately, we haven't seen too many bust-ups between drivers in this round, but still, fair share of incidents. Green flag flies, and we are away. Lewis Hewitt smashes his way through there into first position, but Tim Ryan's going to try and come back at him here as they come out of turn 2 for the first time. And there we go. Lewis Hewitt in second place. Tim Ryan leads. Up into third now is David Heileman. Have a look at Ryan Harris on the outside. He is really advancing here on this top 4. Joel Berkeley trying to protect the inside down here from Bradley Oldfield, who slows up. Goodness me, they're going 4 wide in the background.
Yeah, everybody jostling for position slightly further back in the field, and Tom Callahan, by the looks of it, getting up in the outside wall, so lost a few positions there to everyone else, but nevertheless, really going on the car, in the fence. Harry Stewart just slightly tapping the outside wall and losing a few places, but that battle for the lead at the moment has really vanished very quickly, and Tim Ryan's run away with this, but now it's a Slick Sim Sport 3-way going on for the final podium positions between Hewitt, Berkeley, and Heileman. Heileman on the top, Hewitt on the middle, and Berkeley on the bottom, and now Heileman's decided to go underneath the middle of both of them.
Goodness me. Yeah, Tim Ryan absolutely checking out right now, but this battle for second place is really something to behold. You know, no team orders at Slick Sim Sport. These guys obviously would have communicated with each other beforehand about how they were going to approach this, but they do like having a good race, these guys at Slick Sim Sports. And it looks like Berkeley has managed to get the inside line working very nicely, particularly through turns 3 and 4. He's managing to hold off there, Heileman, for second place. The battle's behind them, though. Have a look at the battle for 6th. There's an absolute ocean of cars currently headed up by Brenton Hobson and Caden Brown, who are currently side by side. And you see them sliding their way across the track. Oh, no. Goodness me. Brenton Hobson, a bit of contact there. And, oh, Tom Callahan having to be a passenger briefly. Brad O'Brien absolutely collecting him out of that. We have a caution.
Really unfortunate there for Tom to end up getting collected in there, and Brad O'Brien having really nowhere to go, unfortunately. But this will help the Slick Sim Sport drivers of Berkeley, Hewitt, and Heileman all get right back up to the back end of Tim Ryan, whose lead was extending quickly over the course of the laps, but that's all vanished very quickly.
Absolutely has. So Tim Ryan is going to have to do it all over again, starting in the lead. But he's going to have a three-pronged Slick Sim Sport attack right behind him. Obviously, once Ryan gets up into the lead of a race, we usually see him pull away. He really likes having a clear track in front of him, does Tim? When he does, he's certainly at his best. But these Slick Sim Sports guys, they'll be jumping at the chance to throw the slide job on him into turn one off the restart. So we will have to wait and see what their reactions are when the green flag flies again. The field forms up. So this is going to be the final caution lap before we get back to racing in the A main. We're currently on 10 green flag laps at the moment.
Yeah, so still plenty of racing to go. 25 to go with 10 down. So going to be all about making sure you don't put it in the fence at this point and getting some nice clean laps in before you put it all on the line. So we'll see what happens here. But Berkeley trying to time the start there by the looks of it. Tim Ryan gets a nice good jump though because of it. And Berkeley will fall into second. Green flag is in the air and everybody jostling for position 4 wide for third place. Hewitt's going to drive around the outside of Heilemann and also Caden Brown, who's trying to mix it in there down on the bottom side of the racetrack, but the top side really, really quick at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like that bottom line is almost unusable on entry and exit. Hewitt, unfortunately, slowing up, and that is a big incident, bringing out another caution flag. Tom Callahan and, Ryan Harris, I should correct myself, and Heilemann as well. David Heilemann is currently on his side. He's out.
Yeah, it just looked like an unfortunate incident for David Heilemann. Just made the mistake of just clipping the outside wall on the entry to turn 2. Well, Lewis Hewitt did it actually, and then Heilemann had to check up for Lewis, and unfortunately Ryan Harris with nowhere to go. So really, really unfortunate for last week's feature winner there, and also Ryan Harris, who really couldn't do much about it, but nevertheless, another caution.
Yes, indeed. So that Slick Sim Sports run has lost one of their fighters. Track temp 27 degrees Celsius. It has cooled down since the start of this event. But the drivers are going to be having a very rough time out there. You see how much slick clay is covering the entirety of the racetrack. If you want to be quick, you either have to ride the wall or you have to play chicken with the tires.
Yeah, certainly do. There's no sort of avoiding either a wall or a tire here at the moment with the way this track has formed up. You've really got to put it all on the line and either bite the bullet of do you hit a tire and end up spinning out and possibly get collected by the field, or do you sort of just bounce off the wall and sort of try and collect yourself without taking anybody out. It's really, really all about what you want to do and how much you're willing to risk it, especially on that top side, which is very, very challenging to run and rough. But Tim Ryan with a great launch off the line. We're back to green flag racing and really another extension of the lead.
Yeah, Ryan absolutely timed that start perfectly, just scything it down to the inside, taking that late apex and catching everyone by surprise. And it looks like he's continuing to extend that lead once again. Berkeley is moving to the inside, and have a look at Lewis Hewitt using that outside line to try and make his way forward. He's carrying much more momentum through the corner than Caden Brown just up ahead of him. Brown doesn't have anywhere to go on the outside. He's sticking to the inside, trying his best to protect it from Hewitt because, that's... Oh, whoa, Hewitt, have a look at him. Flat out through the turn, and he manages to get himself third place ever so briefly. We'll have to wait and see how he goes on the outside. Because his teammate Joel Berkeley seems to really love that inside at the moment. There goes Brown trying the slide job, but it looks like Lewis Hewitt is going to secure this third place.
Certainly is doing a fantastic job at the moment. Is Hewitt on that high side, managing to just get ahead, but Caden Brown only just nosing him out on that time by across the stripe. But Hewitt trying to make that top side work. Berkeley's made that bottom side work amazingly well, but you can see Lewis Hewitt in the wall as well, trying to make that top side work, and he's just starting to fall back a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he's opened himself up here to an attack from Harry Stewart. And we know Harry is one of the drivers to watch in this series. He's starting to use that inside line as well. Hewitt sticking steadfastly to the outside. It looks like Caden Brown has worked out his car behavior on that slick groove. He's managing to hold it off here from Lewis Hewitt, but Hewitt, a bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 2, and that's put him right into the clutches of Harry Stewart. And these two guys running side by side, it looks like Stewart is going to get the position, perhaps, if he can get the power down.
Yeah, it looks like the bottom side is starting to work in his favor, and the top side just starting to blow off a little bit for Hewitt, who's now dropped behind Stewart and is now going to have to work even more to try. But that middle line really starting to actually come into play now.
Yeah, it really is. And you can even see it visually on the track as well. You see that Brown is running that line, and wow, the sun comes out and dazzles us with its light. We had some big clouds coming over the circuit in the last few minutes, but now sunlight is hitting the circuit again. That may change the track even further. This battle for third is absolutely scintillating right now. Caden Brown just holding on here from the double-pronged attack of Harry Stewart and Lewis Hewitt. And they're running side by side once again. I think they're both thinking, goodness me, I'd love to get past Caden Brown because he's just pushing us into each other's clutches.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's done a fantastic job, but Harry Stewart with a slide job on Caden Brown, but Brown's going to drive back underneath him on the inside, so no successful pass there for Harry Stewart. But this is going to allow Hewitt to go round the outside, finally get on by both of them and back onto the podium for the time being. But Brown's going to try the bottom, but nothing down there at the moment, and Hewitt back on the podium.
Yeah, well, these guys would be fiddling around with their wing angle to make sure they have the right level of car behavior. They don't want a car that is too oversteery at the moment, because once you're driving on that slick groove with about 700, 800 horsepower going through the rear wheels, you're not going to have a good time. But it looks like Stewart and Brown continuing to fight. Stewart just edging Brown out here. Now he resumes his attack on Lewis Hewitt. They're running side by side once again, and Hewitt is stuck on that outside line, which we're already seeing is starting to fall away ever so slightly. Having said that, he's put down the power very nicely and secured third place again.
Seems to have come back a little bit as the top side, so Hewitt can have a bit of favoritism on that top side now, and that middle line starting to slightly slick off a little bit too much now. Okay, Brown just tapping the wall there down at the back straight. Now Harry Stewart's going to try and follow Lewis Hewitt's train tracks as he heads into turn 1. Not quite as high, but just using that slightly fresher strip of dirt through turn 2, and he's using that slightly fresher bit of dirt through 3 and 4 as well. It's barely helping him just keep up with Lewis Hewitt here.
Yeah, goodness me, we've absolutely flown by in this feature race. We've got about 7 laps to go at the moment. Nathan Norman and Brad O'Brien fighting tooth and nail for 13th and 14th here. Bit of contact as well for good measure. Doesn't matter where you are in the field. Oh, there's going to be someone to battle with and someone to hit as well.
Yeah, certainly. And Tim Ryan, very lucky to actually not have that incident involve either of them either. So very, very lucky to get away with that one. It has Tim Ryan, but he's done a fantastic job so far as Tim Ryan just absolutely stormed away from the rest of the field and has put on such a commanding drive.
He absolutely has, and as he comes through into the final few laps of this run, you know, this is the Tim Ryan that we saw at the start of the season, unfrazzled, absolutely dominant, and you see the driver's eye view of this circuit. You can really get a sense for how extreme the banking on this circuit is. Excellent circuit here at Charlotte.
A real idea of how bumpy it is as well with the way that high side is working. But Harry Stewart has also managed to come back at Hewitt there a little bit in that last lap or so. Hewitt making a slight mistake possibly in that one of the turns, but nevertheless it's still going on for the final position. But white flag is out now.
It absolutely is, and Tim Ryan, it looks like, is going to take a dominating victory here, but it's still on for that third place between Hewitt and Stewart. But Tim Ryan, completely untroubled. He takes victory then in the ODSE 360 Power Series. Joel Berkeley is going to come home in second place. But what about third? It looks like Lewis Hewitt has just managed to beat Harry Stewart.
Yeah, very, very solid run there by Lewis Hewitt to get on the podium and hold on. And also very, very solid drive by Caden Brown as well to end up sixth after starting in 14th. So really, really a good battle all throughout the field.
Absolutely. He'd be in the running for the Hard Charger Award, for which drivers get an extra $5 thanks to Simpson Safety, Australia, Queensland. Well, there we go. Ryan, Berkeley, and Hewitt, your podium at the end of all of that. And I mean, I just can't believe it. These races have been fantastic every single time, without fail. Ryan and Berkeley, well, the championship lead will probably be extended for Tim Ryan thanks to this, but we'll have to wait and see until the full points come out, and you'll be able to catch those on the Oceanic Dirt Sim Racing Facebook page. And now we're going to move forward into our post-race coverage, post-night coverage. Don't go away. Here at SimSpeed TV, we're going to bring in our race winner for the A main, Tim Ryan, currently in the commentary box. Welcome, Tim. Congratulations once again. Seemed like you had a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, that was a really good race. It was good to get the win with Simon at Motum Simulation sponsoring the event as well. Obviously, they're a big supporter of the team, so it was nice to get a pretty convincing W.
Yeah, big W it was indeed. How was the track from your perspective? Because the dirt track at Charlotte, very extreme banking, very, very fast circuit. But we noticed that there were some interesting ways the optimum line changed throughout the night.
Yeah, I was pretty comfortable up the top there, but you're definitely right. I think the bottom through 3 and 4 is quite good. But I definitely just wanted to keep my momentum up, and I had a lot of fuel on board, so I just wanted to get up the top and burn as much as I could. I knew Joel off the restarts there, that'd be his best chance with him running the bottom. And it takes a few laps to get up the speed when running the top. So in that second restart, I just made sure I didn't muck around and got out to a lead and just made sure I could hit my marks and worry about myself.
A little bit of traffic towards the end of the race. How are you finding that? Because it did seem like a very wide, slick groove forming, and things were getting a bit leery for many drivers.
Yeah, to be honest, the lap cars were really good then. Obviously in dirt race, you don't have to get out of the way, but I think a lot of them there did get out of the way. So they made my job a lot easier. And it also helps when you have the quality bunch of people running around, you can watch where they're running on the laps coming up to, and it makes it a bit easier to read traffic as you're approaching them.
Well, from this position you are in, on the podium, on the top step, who gets it done for you at Logitech G Altus Esports? Shout outs and sponsors.
Yeah, I'd like to thank, obviously, big thanks to Motum Simulation. Obviously, they sponsor the event, and they're also a big supporter of the team. Logitech G, Astro Gaming, and Brady and Bob for putting on this event. I'm not able to participate in the World Championship this year, so this is really fun to run in. This is probably the most competitive series that I get to run in week in, week out. So thank you, and thank you guys for broadcasting as always.
Thank you very much, Tim Ryan, your A main winner there. Next up, Cam, we're going to move to our second place man, Joel Berkeley.
Well, it's not every day to interview my team manager, but nevertheless, Joel, pretty good run from you to end up second.
Yeah, on a normal day, it's a good run, but I'm just going to be honest, and we got absolutely smoked. I could use another word, but there isn't another word I'm going to use on stream. Got smoked.
Well, certainly did with Tim running away, and obviously interesting track conditions. Obviously, with various different lines working, you seem to make that bottom line work quite well. Did you have any thoughts of possibly moving to the top side at all?
Look, I was pretty happy around the bottom. I thought I should have been better about thinking about before the feature, and I had my car set up for the bottom, and yeah, the bottom went away pretty quick because once I started using it, everyone else started using it. So I should have thought that through, that would have happened, but it is what it is. And I mean, I still don't think if I was on the top, I don't think I could have touched him in these cars here. So yeah.
Well, with USA up next, it's going to be a little bit different and unique to the dirt side of things. But are you looking forward to it at all?
Yeah, USA should be a really good race. It'll be a bit better than just this flat out on the cushion in the slick that just it's toot toot that's the fastest really. But it should produce some really good racing with the bottom and the top side there. So pretty keen, looking forward to that, and looking forward to the end of the season. Just wanted to get a solid result here tonight, and yeah, I can't complain with that. And sure, well, it's not really good points, but it's decent points toward this championship. It's not the ones I wanted, but it is what it is.
Well, before we let you go, shout outs and sponsors, and points get probably quite close, I reckon.
Probably not at the moment. With Tim getting a perfect night, he's gonna pull a bit on me, but I mean, we all know Tim is good at the fault line and that. So when the start up is quick, but take nothing away from me, it's quick tonight. But massive thanks to the guys at Slick Sim Sport. Everyone else helps out there. Down to graphics, Thigh Designs, JDR graphics. Everyone else helps out on the team. It's much appreciated. And I guess bring on Sunday or the next 3 nights.
Yeah, certainly. You've got a very, very busy schedule in the next few days, but nevertheless, congratulations on your second place. And we have third place finisher standing by with Lewis Hewitt.
G'day, Lewis. Welcome to the commentary box and congratulations on your third place. Looked like you were having a lot of fun out there at the start with your teammates David and Joel.
Yeah, that was a good race for the three of us there. We were side by side for I think about 5 or 6 laps. It felt like. Yeah, it was good times until I decided to get into the wall in front of David and his race. Unfortunately.
Yeah, how did that happen? Because it looked like everyone was struggling a bit getting used to the track, the way it had worn down in the feature. Was it just problems with keeping the car balance out there on the top line?
Yeah, it was exactly that. I went in and I got a little tight and just had to lift, and I lifted the front end come up and it got into the wall, and yeah, it was unfortunate there.
Well, nonetheless, you managed to hold on for a third place, and overall, it looked like it was a very good night for you. A strong showing in the shootout, and coming away with a heat win as well. A good night.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice to advance in the shootouts. I think I went from like fourth or something to second, so that was nice and good heat and reasonable qualifying. So some decent points for me, I think.
And coming into USA next round, setting up your championship on a good run. How are you feeling about USA?
Really excited for USA actually. It's a favorite track of mine. It's a bit different than the other ones. It's really long, wide open, flat track. Yeah, it should be a good time. I think it's a difficult track to run though. Same as this one up top, it gets really rough. But yeah, it should be a good time.
Well, before we let you go, Mr. Hewitt, any shout outs, any sponsors? Who gets it done for you?
Yeah, as always, big thank you to Team Slick Sim Sports, all the guys there, along with our supporters being Down in the Graphics and JDR Designs.
Lewis Hewitt, your third place man in the A main here at the Motum Simulation 360 Sprintcar Showdown. Well, Cam, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, and what a round it was. I tell you what, even if the championship lead gets extended by Tim Ryan, we still saw that the likes of Joel Berkeley and Lewis Hewitt could take it to him.
Yes, certainly. There's clearly a lot of pace in the Slick Sim sports cars. Not quite enough tonight, but there definitely is potential to get some solid results regardless. So really looking forward to USA to see what happens and whether it ends up being Slick Sim Sports taking another win or it ends up being another Tim Ryan dominance.
We'll have to wait and see for that, and you'll have to wait and see too. We'll be back at the same time next week for round 8 of the championship at USA International Speedway. So, on that note, we have to say goodbye to you here at SimSpeed TV. We want to thank you all for tuning in over the course of the night, and we hope you enjoyed the racing that was put on this Thursday night. We want to thank Motum Simulation for their support of this round and $10 going to the A main winner as a result of that. And we want to thank, of course, Oceanic Dirt Sim Events for running this series, for giving us some excellent speedway action every Thursday night. USA is next week. You will be there, to very badly paraphrase WA Speedway legend Con Migro. I'm Reese Gardner. Cam Dance is joining me in the commentary box, and Scott Fountain on cameras for this one. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, it's bye for now, but not forever.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.